I'm back. Hey, you'll have to a couple days to play with the sound here. I'm trying to make the adjustments for the microphone on the new computer, so try to fine tune it over the next few days. I played with it a little bit today. See how this video comes out. Got my drawing tool fixed. Look at that. Peek a stinking boo, huh? Happy days are here again. As you can see, Trump is touring the renovations over at the Fed there. We had the Alphabet earnings positive and helped the NASDAQ and helped the market. Tesla took a hit with earnings continuing to suffer. The Dow, this is interesting. We've got a possible inside day, I believe, on the Dow. I didn't look at the final print. We'll take a look at it. The Dow was down 316 points. Down 0.70%, back below the 45,000. We hit 45,000. I think we made a new closing high, but we didn't exceed the intraday high. I think it was from December. Take a look at the chart. The S&P 500 up 4. We had a rally. It fizzled out. More about that in just a bit. The NASDAQ rallied, but again didn't close at the highs of the session. The Russell down 1.36%. The VIX up slightly, holding at 1539. Tesla was down 8% after another weak quarter for auto sales. I told you on July 3rd, when we hit a peak and we started going sideways, that we still see the seasonality peak play out and end up forming a divergence on the RSI in the daily time frame. Now happened. I told you, had a big move before July 3rd, and then we stalled out, went sideways, but the seasonality takes us into the end of the month here, which again we're now approaching. So we still may go higher. We could reach the upper boundary of the rising wedges, but I think you could peak here or just a few days ahead of Trump's tariffs, and possibly the Fed next week. You still may go higher with the Fed, but the seasonality also suggesting we're going to have some volatility. It's played out in July. It doesn't always play out, but it did play out in July. It didn't play out in March. We still went to new lows in April. We were supposed to rally in March. It didn't happen. So another reason with the seasonality why I think the rally is coming to a conclusion. Drag out into the very end of the month. Fed meeting or with Trump's tariffs there, still think you got a pretty good shot. Either we're peaking here and now, we do it in the next couple of days. The VIX is coming down to this trend line just right below it. If we include the shadow here, I showed you in yesterday's video, excluding the shadow, we're right at it. If we include the shadow, we're just still above it here, but we're forming bullish divergences on the RSI, on the MACD, and again on the stochastic. So again, we'll be watching to see if we can recover with the VIX. If we do, then the S&P 500 could soon peak if this divergence begins to play out. S&P can still go higher. Listen carefully. We have a rising wedge. The S&P can still go higher, but wanted to show you the doji, the candle of indecision, the bullish divergence that's forming on the VIX. In order for volatility to return, you got to get back above the 50. You got to get back in positive territory with the MACD. The RSI has to get back above 50 and remain there. Again, we still may go to the upper boundary of the rising wedge. We're either getting close to a top, got a shot at a top. This may drag on into next week's Fed meeting or tariff launch date on August 1st. The S&P 500 is up nearly 32% since I call the day of the bottom. When we hit key support, we had a rising trend line, horizontal support, market breadth indicators at single digits, the fear greed index at single digits at readings of 3, 4, and 5. But he's predicting a crash. I told you we were going to bottom. We were going to rally up to new highs. Oh, gee, what happened? We rallied up to new highs. I told you these highs could be pointing to the next highs. We overthrew and exceeded that level. My signals remain bullish, but we're forming these bearish divergences. Warning you, the divergences could still be under construction, and they still may be. But for me, it's time to get out of Dodge. Just looking to close long positions and flip the trade and go short. We still may go higher with the Fed. We go into the tariffs. I think the upside potential is now limited. Rallied up nearly 32% since I called the day of the bottom. Top most of that out of future contracts right here. Momentum flipped bearish, but my trend signals never turned bearish. And I told you if we flipped right back to bullish, I'd get right back in. I did, and we saw futures go back up, and that created this gap right here on the S&P 500. Talked about that at the time and continued the advance. Looking for divergences, carve out. I think they're coming to a conclusion. I could be completely wrong about this. And again, I'm not telling anybody to buy or sell anything. Just telling you, I think it's time to get out of Dodge. I've closed all my long positions. I've flipped the trade and I've gone short. I could get stopped out of my short positions, have to reset them at higher levels, but I think the upside is limited. Still may go higher. Great Scott, did you hear what I just said? Yeah, we still may go higher. I could be wrong. How are you going to gripe about a gain like that? Top most of that gain. Not recommending anybody sell anything or anybody buy anything, anybody close positions or go. I'm just telling you, I think we're going to get a pullback. Now, we may go higher before we do, and I could be completely wrong, and I'll miss whatever rally happens from here if we do go higher. But I think the risk right here is extremely high. I'd rather just sell into the rally. I've talked about that. I've been looking for an opportunity. Now, I want to mention my signals, which are correct, are still bullish. My momentum signals are still bullish. Trend signals are still bullish. I'm just looking at these divergences developing, and like I said, maybe they're not done. I think the upside is limited. We still may go into the upper boundary of the rising wedge. We're not there yet. I think the upside is limited with what I'm seeing with Nvidia, the divergences that I'm seeing on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. For me, time to get out of Dodge, get my feet wet with a short position here. That's what I'm attempting to do. I really post today on social media. I just post one thing at the very end of the session because the final rally into the last hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes or so into the session, managing my positions. So I'm sorry if I didn't post very much on social media today. I was making tough decisions. If we start to turn down, might have a little evening star pattern here today. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. My signals, which are correct, are still bullish. Momentum is still bullish. Just looking at these divergences, thinking, well, maybe coming to a conclusion. Speculation on my part, and I'm not recommending anybody buy or sell anything, anybody close any positions or anything. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. Because what I'm thinking, I'm acting on it. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right. Great Scott, did you hear what I said? That doesn't mean I'm going to be right. If the S&P gets a red bar tomorrow, we could have an evening star reversal. If we get a red bar tomorrow, that could possibly mark a top. No guarantee. We got a little topping tail. People like me selling into the rally and short sellers starting to speculate here. We talked about the possibility of a peak here. I told you we had to get confirmation and a fall through. We never got it. Otherwise, without confirmation and a fall through, the candlestick is meaningless. It was just a short-term pullback. Wasn't able to post right here. I posted late yesterday after getting my computer and putting all the programs back in it that I needed to make the video with about that. And again, rising wedge. We went higher, got a little topping tail. So again, I think there's a huge risk here. So I'm closing long positions and I'm going short. I could be stopped out of my short position, have to reset it to higher levels. But I'm speculating here. My signals are still bullish. I'm speculating as divergences are developing. Just to let you know, and I could be completely wrong, and I'm not suggesting anybody do what I'm doing. Watching this through the session, the last half of the trading session, the decision that I didn't want to be exposed to the market anymore and I wanted to speculate. On the short side, again, I don't believe the top is in as far as the major top. I believe we're putting in a short-term top and we're going to pull back. I could be wrong. We could still go higher. What's interesting, though, is we did end up selling off. I think I might have done the right thing, but there still is risk going higher. And I don't know the future. I'm just a trader that plays support and resistance levels using mathematically based indicators. However, my indicators are still bullish. I could just wait and play those signals. They'll begin to trigger after we have a top in. Now we're forming divergences, which is what I'm speculating on. NASDAQ is up over 40% since I called the bottom. And I got most of that move. Yeah, right here we saw momentum turn bearish for 2 days. Futures turned right back to bullish. I tried to be disciplined. got out, got back in, but I caught the majority of this move, but I have been disciplined. And listen, we may go higher, but again, I've closed all my long positions on S&P and on NASDAQ, and I'm now speculating on the short side. I don't like what I'm seeing, and I think that the upside is limited after being up over 40%. We got a topping tail, Let me just raise that percentage to today's high rather than the previous high. We did move slightly higher. It looks like they're just eyeballing it, but I don't like the candlesticks I'm seeing. We get a topping tail. We get the red bar. Today we ended up with a doji spinning top. When we were rallying at the highs, you had a possible bearish hammer, or a hanging man, pardon me. But based on these candles, I think other people are doing what I'm doing and selling into the rally and speculating on the short side. But I said, we could still go higher. This is a candle of indecision. We could still go higher. I don't like what I'm seeing. If we do go higher, I think the time is short. I think the upside is limited. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel. If you follow the link below, it'll take you to a secured site. You could donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. I just ask that you do that instead of having sponsors and trying to sell you a bunch of junk you don't need. Most YouTube channels make their money through sponsors. I don't like that. I don't want to do it. I need to hear from you in order to make it work. You're here to look at charts, not for me to sell you something. So many shady deals on the internet, I don't even want any part of it. Take a moment. If you like these signals, if you like my charts, take a moment and support the channel. Let me know you want me to do this. Let me know you like this information. Thank you for your consideration for that. Watch the video all the way through. I am now making changes to my positions. I am now flipping from bullish to bearish. If you watch the video all the way through, you'll see some of the things I'm looking at, why I think what I think. But we still could go higher. Do not know the future. Think the time is short. Watch the video all the way through and you'll see some fascinating signals. Choice to make, because rather than forming a divergence right here with this high right here, we moved up above this peak over here. But we're still lower than the peaks back over here. So you have this possible larger multiple point divergence developing, or we may end up getting one right here, right now in this most recent price action and form this massive multiple point divergence. I'm saying there still could be more upside. Did you hear what I just said? I say things more than once sometimes because some people only hear what they want to hear. We could still go higher. Say it again. We could still go higher. If we go higher, we'll be going higher without me speculating on the short side, and I could be stopped out. But if this is done, and we have this divergence and it's done, and we don't form a divergence in this most recent price action, then again, we'll need to drop below the 50, we'll need to drop below the 10, we'll need to see momentum turn bearish, we'll need to see the trend signals begin to turn bearish. The same thing going on down here at the MACD. You got a multiple point divergence. There's stochastic starting to roll over, but again, the stochastic remain at extremes for an extended period of time. So again, telling you, I think the time is short. We ended up 4 points higher after being at 63.81 at the high of the session. We ended up closing at 63.63, so well off of the highs. Gave us a little topping tail on the S&P, and we got that topping tail on the NASDAQ. I think we're going to get wave 4. I think we'll get a higher low, and then I think we'll go make another new high. I think that's going to be it, and I think that's likely going to be in September or October in all likelihood. I think we sell off for a few weeks. What could do that? The Fed meeting next week. If Powell ends up resigning, you have Trump over there at the Fed inspecting the renovations at the Fed building. He's putting the pressure on Powell. If Powell ends up resigning, or if Trump fires him, which again, experts are arguing among themselves whether Trump has the authority to do that, and I'll leave that for the experts. If Trump does end up firing him, or attempts to anyways, or Powell resigns next week, I've had enough. Oh, that could be a catalyst that rattles the markets, and then we have Trump's tariffs at the end of next week on August 1st. New tariff rates and new tariffs will be going into effect, and you've got the herd. The herd now believes Trump's a taco. Trump always chickens out. That's the narrative on social media. Trump always chickens out. He's not going to go through with the tariffs, and it's just shrugging it off. These are the same people, you know, Kramer and the Bears, all the Bears are going to crash the market. We're already in a recession. And down here, when I called the very day of the bottom with that hollow red candlestick. Why? Because we hit key support. And I told you the day before the bottom on that Friday when Kramer was calling for the crash. A Black Monday crash doesn't happen when everybody's expecting it, when Kramer's telling us it's going to happen. And the bears go, yeah, it's going to be worse than Kramer says. And then the herd goes, oh, yeah, that's got to be right. That's when I called the bottom. And now up here, I've been looking for a top, still looking for it. I think that got a shot that we have a top here or that we'll get one the next few days. Now the herd's saying, Trump's a taco. Tariffs are going to be paused or they're going to be better. Seeing deals, which I told you was going to happen, but is what the herd, these people calling Trump a taco, they don't understand him. Down over here, I told you we're going to have negotiations and we're going to get a pause. Had those negotiations. Now Trump is giving this August 1st deadline, light a fire under some of these countries to make deals, which we got them. We got several deals this week. The Philippines, Indonesia, the big one with Japan, great deal with Japan. We'll see a few more deals. We're going to have tariffs on other countries. You got the big countries making the deals, going to have countries with either a tariff rate or a deal. And this date is probably not going to be delayed, as the herd now believes that it will. Actually, these tariff negotiations are going to come to a conclusion, and either they're going to have a deal or they're going to have tariffs. That's what the herd doesn't understand. Because they don't understand Trump. That's why everything the bears have said has been completely wrong. Everything the media has said has been completely wrong about tariffs. I think you're going to get a rug pull. I think that the tariffs are going to be, the August 1st date here is going to be associated with the top and maybe with the Fed. We have Powell's press conference next week. When if he ends up resigning? And if, you know, they've renovation business, Congress, a member of Congress, Representative Luna has referred Powell over for criminal prosecution for lying to Congress. He just doesn't want the headache. Powell likes his job. Being the Fed chair, the financial world is being like a rock star in the financial world. Powell likes it, that's clear. I don't know if he'll resign, but if he does, that's going to add volatility to the markets. If Trump makes an attempt to fire him, which again is questionable, and I'll leave that for the experts to fight that one out. He makes the attempt to do it. Again, this could create volatility, could be part of it. Trump's tariffs could just be the catalyst. Be watching all of that. I could be wrong. We could see the MACD begin to turn back up here a little bit more. We can go to the upper boundary of the rising wedge. You see this upper red boundary right here from these previous highs? Could make it all the way up there. But I think the upside is limited. I don't know that we're going to make it all the way up there. That's why I think it's time to get out of Dodge. I think we got a shot at a top today. Great Scott, did you hear what I said? I think we've got a shot at a top today. Watching the 60-minute chart, I'll show it to you up close. Talked about it here a moment ago. Possible divergence in this most recent price action. I don't know that that's going to happen. Could. We don't have the MACD rolling over yet. Could see a divergence in this most recent price action. I could be completely wrong in selling too early and trying to go short. But again, you can see, look at the candlesticks here. What I was watching through the session here, we had this gap higher. We rallied back up, got a hanging man, got another hanging man, got a candle of indecision with a little stone type of doji there, a little doji candlestick, turned down, and then we went back up and tested the highs. I was watching this closely, and that's when I said, rally back up. I don't like what I'm seeing. Possible little diversions there, but RSI doesn't. It'd be more of a confirmation of a lower high. The RSI doesn't look at the tails, just the closes and the real body. We may come down here and sell off a little bit and then end up going back up and getting a divergence in this most recent price action and still go higher, still go towards that upper channel or towards the upper boundary of the rising wedge in the daily time frame there. But I think the upside is limited. This is why I was selling towards the end of the session with these rally back up here. We would just pull back and we go higher. Did you hear what I just said? We still can go higher. I gotta say that because, again, some people have selective hearing. They only hear what they want to hear. I'm telling you, I could be completely wrong. We still may go a little higher, but I think the upside is limited. But I think you got a shot. Could see a turn here. So I think it's very possible we just topped. Did you hear what I said? I think it's very possible. If you bring up the daily chart, we got a black candlestick. other sellers besides me into this rally. I've been looking for a top, but I haven't called one yet. Now I'm telling you, I think we might have topped, and it looks like that to me. But I'm not some fake fortune teller that's going to tell you the future. Again, I'm a trader that looks at support and resistance using mathematically based indicators. Got a black candlestick here with our real body. That's bearish. It always play out as bearish, but oftentimes it can be bearish. Didn't get that until the very end of the session when we gave back at the very tail end of the session there. Last half hour of trading, 45 minutes of trading or so, back rallies. And that's why, again, I was watching this carefully during the session. I made the decision to sell into the rally, lock in gains, flip the trade. Can be stopped out very, very easily. I have to reset my short position, so just be aware of that. I'm speculating on the short side now with S&P and NASDAQ, and I have closed my long positions, using all long positions and taking profits. Now I'm just telling you, I'm doing that because I think that we've either topped right here or we're about to top. You very well could see a top this week or on into next week. You may get it this week. Ahead of the Fed meeting, ahead of Trump's, the launch of Trump's tariffs. If we look at the NASDAQ again, NASDAQ daily chart, it also got a black candlestick with our candle of indecision. See that on the other chart, which doesn't have the black candlesticks, all the red candlesticks. Got one over here, and it was not a top. Keep that in mind. Oftentimes, it might mark a short-term peak. Sometimes they're false signals completely. This is a candle of indecision, meaning we keep going or we get a possible reversal. I don't like the candlesticks that are setting up here, the topping tail, the red bar, the potential hanging man. Now, this candle of indecision, this doji or spinny top looking candlestick, I don't like what I'm seeing. Time to get out of Dodge. You don't mess with Matt Dillon. Dodge, Gunsmoke, probably half of you have no idea what I'm talking about. That's where the saying get out of Dodge comes from. Gunsmoke. A great Western, by the way. Again, I think we have a very good shot that we're topping. Not, we're about to top very, very soon. For me, time to get out of Dodge. NASDAQ daily chart here. Pushing up. It looks to be slightly above our previous peak right there. Getting the doji today. Redrawn the trend line from that low. We still may hit that upper boundary. I could be completely wrong about a possible top here. We're trying to back test also this trend line right here from this low excluding the shadow right there, that low excluding the shadow. We're trying to back test that level, but I've just redrawn my trend line from the bounce off the 10-period moving average. Trend lines slightly change. I think we've got a possible completion of the top, or again, we go up a little bit higher. It's still possible. I think the upside is limited, and again, that's why I'm saying I could easily be stopped out on my short position. But again, you can see these divergences that are developing. We have this larger divergence that's developing from these previous highs to our highs right here. Last divergence gave us a small pullback. This divergence will likely give us a bigger one probably into the cloud, probably to test these 200-period moving averages. NASDAQ 100 was up 57 points, up 0.25% after being much higher with that candle of indecision closing at the highs. Thing here, MACD still may turn back up. We've got this divergence on the MACD. We don't have to turn back up. Maybe it's just not done yet. We're going higher, yet the MACD's rolled over. That's one of the quirks about the MACD, but you still have a divergence. I told you over here, again, and let me move back to the S&P. We ended up turning back up on both S&P and NASDAQ with the MACD, but we ended up forming a larger divergence with the December high. You can see something like that here, or we don't have to turn back up. We may. Doji can be a candle that is a continuation, and we may try to go to these upper boundaries of these rising wedges. Our stochastics not yet rolling over. It may still form a larger divergence in the more recent price action, so don't rule that out. Still may happen. We've got this divergence on the stochastic with the NASDAQ. Again, it still may try to recycle back up, but if we have peaked with Nvidia, then we very well may be peaking here with NASDAQ as well. NASDAQ inched slightly higher on an intraday basis. It looks like eyeballing it. Nvidia did not. So again, I think we'll sell off, get wave 4, and then we'll go make new highs and get wave 5. A lot of the bears saying what I told you they were going to say. Remember, I told you down here at the very bottom, when we go back up and make new highs, they're going to be going, it's a double top, it's a triple top, or whatever, however you want to count it, from the December peak to the February peak to the peak that's going to form right here. A lot of people were telling us we were going to crash down here and this rally was never going to happen. Now they're saying, oh no, this is it. Really? I think we're going to eventually get a top. I just think we're in the blow off top process first. I've warned. I think we get a pullback. I think that'll be wave 4, and then I think we get wave 5, and then I think the market's going to top a few months from now. 60-minute chart of the NASDAQ. Again, I think we're wrapping this up. We're bouncing off the 50. We're bouncing off these 10-period moving averages, hitting this multiple point divergence. It still may not be done yet. I could be completely wrong about the rally stalling out. Go on into next week. It could continue. I think we've got a 1, 2, and I think we're wrapping up wave 3 here. Going to get wave 4, and then we'll get wave 5, and then I think the bull market will end. Momentum is still bullish on the S&P 500. We still have a bullish reversal of conditions. I told you it turned bearish, but it didn't flip my trend signals to bearish. They remain bullish. Momentum flipped right back to bullish. It's still bullish, but I think it's going to change very soon. We've got the green bars, and again, they may not be done yet, but you've got this multiple point divergence that is developing here that I think we could see red bars in the next few days. We peak right here, maybe sooner rather than later. S&P daily here. NASDAQ bars are going back and forth from red to green, again forming the divergence. We had red bars, we got the green, we got a red, we got a green. Now we get a red today with our doji. And again, you've got the divergences going on here. Maybe they're done, maybe they're not, but the upside is limited. Time to get out of Dodge. That are warning, my signals are still bullish. You can clearly see my signals have been bullish all the stinking way up. But I'm speculating on the divergences. A divergence on the NASDAQ. We have a divergence on the S&P in the daily time frame. We have multiple point divergences in the 60-minute time frame. I think those things are likely coming to a conclusion. It's possible we peak today or that we peak in the next few days. But the signals, I want to make that clear, my signals, which are correct, are still bullish. When they start turning, see momentum turn, they'll either turn just after it or with it, and you'll start seeing signals start turning bearish, like with the red bars over here. You start seeing red here. My signals have been bullish all the way up, except for the shift in momentum back over here, and it didn't change my trend signals. And as we have bearish divergences forming, they may not be done. We still may go up to that upper boundary of the rising wedge, but you've got the divergences. We even have it here with risk on. Risk on is not moving to a new low. It's diverging with the S&P 500. The S&P trend is still bullish, and those divergences I'm talking about turn the signals here, move us back into a risk-off environment. Ever since we got the higher low here, we've been back in a risk-on environment, higher low, higher high, and the trend turned back to bullish. So my signals are still bullish, so keep that in mind. But I'm getting these warning signals. Should be looking for a top. Got one a few days ago, a couple of days ago I got a couple. Got another one today. Now today's red circle isn't set in stone. This one could still be canceled out if we start going higher. We have these other two. Get another one today. And it says warning, hey, could see a top soon. Over here I got an early warning sign, went a little bit higher, and then I got one here, and we got a little tiny pullback. Over here I got it at the bottom. Over here, got it over here at the January high. We still went a little bit higher, but then got this downturn after that. Didn't get a signal in February at the February 19th high. I programmed my own indicators. I programmed this indicator to tell me where we could see a possible reversal or a shift, a pullback, shift with momentum. Sometimes it marks a counter trend, like right here and over here. Other times it marks a bottom or a top. Which is this? I don't know. Today's candlestick, which we did get today, could still be canceled out to go higher. But again, another thing causing me to go, gee, maybe we have a top in. There's similar turning points on SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500. We also got one here today. Had one recently here, got a little tiny pullback, and then now we get another one. So very, very similar. This circle, it could still be canceled out. we see a strong rally in the next day or two. But right here, again, it's warning of a possible top. SPY daily. Getting similar signals with the Russell 2000 right here, very similar to what we had at the top over here. Again, some of these counter trends, okay, and then the bottom. So I don't know if this is a counter trend. I don't know if this is a top. We just get a small pullback, or we get a top that gives us something bigger. It's telling me prices are getting tired here. The same thing with the Dow today. Inside day with the Dow, warning sign. Again, today's circle, it can be canceled out if we could try to go make a new high. It may just start showing warning signs, like we got a couple of them over here. A couple of them over here. I'm telling you, again, I'm seeing some signals cause me to think Dow is coming to a conclusion, and the divergences that I've been warning about and under construction, I think they're coming to a completion. Here's QQQ. The signals are a little bit different than NASDAQ 100. Again, top over here in December, and then we didn't get one at the February top. Some counter trends, the bottom. Got one here for the short-term pullback. Got one here. It's either warning a bigger reversal is going to happen, or again, marking this short-term pullback that we got. QQQ. Now look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ 100 signals are a little bit different. NASDAQ 100, I didn't get much over here. I did with QQQ. But again, it marked the bottom, marked this peak right here. Now I'm getting some warning signs over here. So again, with our previous peak, and we tested that today. So still may go higher, but this is warning that there is risk and that prices may turn soon. I'm telling you, we still may reach that upper boundary of the rising wedge. I think the upside is limited. Nvidia closely, because again, it came up to this trend line and it turned right off of it. Now we're seeing a rally today, 1.73% higher, but we're getting a lower high so far. Going to be watching, do we get a little divergence here on the RSI and we go a little bit above the trend line maybe, or slam into it again slightly higher? Further right you go to the chart, the higher the trend line goes. We get a lower high and we start seeing push down. I do think that Nvidia will get the wave 4 correction. I believe that we're in a broadening formation. Oh, here's my drawing tool. Look at this. Peek of Sneakaboo. Look at that. It's like my third arm, my drawing tool. That's because I've put in tens of thousands of hours into drawing on charts. Nevertheless, I digress. Just like called the very day of the bottom for Nvidia. We had a 9 count. We got key support. I told you to be watching for bottom. Week ahead of the tariffs when everybody said we were going to crash, and I was correct. I told you back then, Nvidia was either going to set up a head and shoulders pattern, we get a lower high and go sideways, market moved higher, or Nvidia would form a broadening formation. I told you if I'm wrong about this broadening formation and the upper channel line, we have a extended fifth scenario that I've talked about getting above these levels, and I told you a week and a half ago. I am ruling that out. I'm not dismissing it completely, but I think that this scenario is much more likely. I think we're going to sell off and go back up and slam into this trend line again. Trend line from the long-term channel, the upper boundary in the weekly time frame. And then I think Nvidia is going to peak and top, and I think the market will too. And I think that could be in the coming months ahead. I think September, October, very likely going to be the time where we see a top being put in for Nvidia. There's major resistance. Again, this trend line right here and the trend line in the weekly time frame, that's what I used to call these previous peaks. Over here, late 2024 and the June peak in 2024. I think Nvidia holds the key to the top at the topping process for the stock market. The NASDAQ follows Nvidia, hitting that upper boundary, the broadening formation. We're coming up to this trend line right here, and again, I think we're going to stall there, pull back, and then come back up and test this level again. I think you'll complete the wave 4 and the wave 5. I think this channel is going to produce a peak with Nvidia. And eventually, as we finish the bear market, I think we're coming back to this trend line right here. You heard me right. If I bring it up close, you can see the broadening formation here in the weekly time frame. I think Nvidia is getting a broadening formation. It's a 5-point reversal. 1, 2, 3, 4. and then we get 5, and that gives us a reversal. It's just like a head and shoulders, which is also a 5-point reversal. So is a triple top, only the head and shoulders would get a lower high. But it is a 5-point reversal. There are a lot of 5-point reversals in technical analysis. We hit the trend line right here in early, well, I should say in June of 2024. And then we hit it again here in late 2024, fell shy of it. We're still just below it here right now, but we're hitting the trend line from the upper boundary. Now, if we get above that and we end up forming a divergence on the daily chart, we can still slam up into that trend line. That's what I'm saying. We still might try to form that divergence on the RSI in the daily time frame. But if this trend line from these previous highs hold, then we might go down and then slam up into this upper boundary later, likely in September or October for the 5th wave. Just something I'm paying attention to. I don't think this move is done. I do think we'll get a pullback for wave 4 and 5. Same thing as I'm looking for with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. I think Nvidia is really the blueprint for the topping process, really for the NASDAQ that we're following, the blueprint for the topping process.